When we think about democracy, we usually picture government buildings, right? Voting booths, maybe politicians giving speeches. But what if it's way more than that? What if it's actually a blueprint for how we should live our everyday lives? Today, that's exactly the idea we're going to dig into.
All right, so to get into this, let's start with a really big fundamental question. It's one that every society, and honestly every single one of us, is constantly trying to answer.
I mean, really think about it for a second. Everything we do, from our daily routines to our biggest life goals, what's it all for? What's the end game? Well, the academic text we're exploring today offers a really simple but kind of profound answer. That's it, to live in peace and harmony. The source material calls this the end in itself. It's not a step towards something else. It is the ultimate goal. And we tend to choose governments and social structures that we believe, or at least hope, will help us get there. So the big question is, how do we actually achieve that peace and harmony? For centuries, many societies, including India, have chosen democracy as their path. But the idea we're unpacking today goes way, way deeper than just casting a vote or picking a political party. What's so cool is that democracy wasn't just invented overnight. It was this incredible evolution of an idea. You can trace it all the way back to 500 BC in Athens, with this radical concept of rule by the people. Fast forward a couple thousand years to 1776, and the U.S. Declaration of Independence adds these powerful new layers about natural rights and our social contract with the state. And then, in 1863, Abraham Lincoln just crystallizes it all into that iconic definition we all know.
Right? We've all heard it. It's probably the most famous definition of democracy on the planet. But what our source material argues is that its deepest meaning, it goes far beyond politics. It goes right into the very fabric of how we live.
And boom, there it is. This is the core idea of our whole explainer. Democracy isn't just some system we live under, it's an attitude. It's a personal and social ethic, a set of guiding principles designed to help every single person reach their absolute fullest potential. Okay, so if we're saying democracy is an ethic, a way of life, what's holding it all up? What are the foundations? Well, the text we're looking at identifies three big ones, which it calls the foundational pillars. So, pillar number one is respect for individuality. This is all about finding that sweet spot, that crucial balance between our own personal freedom and the needs of society. It's the idea that every single one of us is entitled to a certain amount of privacy and autonomy to grow as a person. And the philosopher John Stuart Mill came up with this classic guide for where to draw the line. He basically said, look, the only time it's okay for power to be used against your will is to stop you from harming someone else. It's a really powerful and clear framework for this first pillar. All right, pillar number two is confidence in human intelligence. Now hold on, this isn't about believing everyone's a genius or that the majority is always right. Not at all. It's about trusting our collective intelligence. It's the belief that when we're all free to ask questions and share ideas, we have the best shot at solving problems and, just as importantly, fixing our own mistakes over time. And that brings us to pillar three, the right to participate. This is super straightforward, but so important. It says that if a decision is going to affect you, you have a right and maybe even a responsibility to be part of the process of solving it. It's all about shared ownership of our shared problems.
Okay, I know these pillars can sound a little high level, a bit abstract. So to bring them down to earth, let's see how they actually play out in a place we can all relate to, the classroom.
So let's talk about equality in schools. It's a word that gets thrown around all the time, right? But what does it actually mean in a democratic sense? Because its true meaning is super specific. And honestly, a lot of people get it wrong. And here's the absolute key difference. Democratic equality is not about sameness. It's about fairness and justice. Think about it. Treating everyone exactly the same can be incredibly unfair if people have different needs. Real democratic equality is about treating people equitably. So what does that look like in practice? It means that providing special classes for gifted students or giving extra support to students who are struggling, that's not a violation of equality. In fact, it's the opposite. It is a profoundly democratic act. It's an expression of justice tailored to help each individual grow. And what about freedom in the classroom? Well, you've got two classic viewpoints. The traditionalist one emphasizes discipline with a quiet, teacher-directed student. The progressivist view emphasizes personal development with a spontaneous, self-disciplined student. So where does the democratic ideal fit in?
Well, the democratic answer, according to our source, is kind of in the middle. Freedom is not the end goal itself. The goal is learning. The goal is personal growth. So freedom is this incredibly powerful tool, but it's only justified when it serves that bigger purpose.
This all brings us to what might be the most important takeaway from this whole thing. What does this mean for us, right here, right now?
And here it is. Democracy isn't a destination you arrive at. It's not a machine that once you build it just runs on its own forever. It's a process. It's an ongoing project that can never really be finished because we're always discovering new human potentials. And its survival doesn't depend on laws on paper, but on the attitudes we carry in our hearts.
So the final thought here is really a challenge. To see these principles, respect for the individual, confidence in our collective intelligence, and the right to participate, not as abstract political ideals, but as a daily practice. Democracy isn't something you have, it's something you do. So how will you practice it today? Thanks for watching.